We are live, and I am just texting Elle because we were having technical difficulties. StreamYard kicked us out of where we were, and I had to start up a new one. So here we are, floating on the fly, as usual. So Elle will be joining us momentarily, but in the interim, let's have a private little chat. So I'm going to put the comments on. If you guys are out there, please make some comments. Let us know you're there. We'd love to interact with you. Otherwise, I'm just going to be yammering on this whole time, and I'd love to have an exchange with you. But here we are in Hampton Roads. Elle and I are sisters from another mister, and we are here to help raise the frequency of this planet. We're two OG Gen X beauties that are just living our best life finally, and we want to share our tips and tricks with how we're just making life thrive after going through some pretty crazy stuff. Are you there, Elle? Can you hear
I'm
me?
here. I can.
Yay! Hallelujah!
Yay. We have
Yay!
liftoff.
Lift off! Hallelujah! Yeah, we were talking about I was telling everybody about us and kind of a brief thing about how we're here to help raise the frequency and help guide people on getting to their best lives after going through some hardship and maybe what some know as dark night of the soul type of situation. But I didn't want to start off with that because we've got a holiday weekend, at least here in the United States. We're getting ready to celebrate Memorial Day weekend. And of course, Memorial Day is to memorialize the people that have fallen during wartime, and may they be journeying on evermore. But there's only a few wars that actually, in my opinion, merit that, because everything else, everybody was duped. But I don't want to talk about that either, because war should not be a part of our society anymore. And I'm hoping soon, very soon, that is a reality. And I don't think that's a pipe dream. I genuinely do not think that's a pipe dream. I don't think that's inherent in our nature. It truly is not. And it is a resource to help others create wealth in their lives, which is just sick.
You said it beautifully. That's exactly. Yes, perfect.
Thank you. So, however, we can also memorialize other things that we cherish in our life that have been here and now have moved on. Be it family members or a stretch of your life that was apparently, just especially shiny, that you were like, God, that was such a really great time. You can memorize that and just hold that in your heart. And if that raises your vibration, then that's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's really not about mourning the loss so much as celebrating the fact that you got to experience that event, that situation, that person.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned being able to memorialize those things, not mourn them, but just celebrate them for the time they existed in our lives.
Yeah.
Um, for those who have watched us for some time, you know that we both stepped out of majorly lucrative careers to follow passions of our own, and to be professionals in those passions, as far as making a living. And it's not easy because that life was quite the life, I have to say. Although I got out of it to help my own mental health. So there's definitely nothing to mourn there. Very often I second guess myself because I took the route of not the norm, if you will, not the societal expectation, if you will. So there
Right.
comes a time when I'm doubting, and when money is not flowing like you want money to flow, or my gigs aren't flowing like I want my gigs to flow, I get
Right.
into that place. But I had to understand, although I left that place for a good reason and I am better for it, there are things there that it's okay for me to celebrate having been a
Oh,
part of.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there is apparently an exchange of, you could have that apparently comfortable life, but you pay a price for that. and that's your mental health. And I don't think
Yes.
it's not worth it. And the same thing for me, Elle, being a mortgage banker for as long as I was, and at the time I was, which I don't think will ever happen again. We're
Right.
talking, during the 90s and the early 2000s, that shit isn't ever going to happen again. That was kind of, even I knew that was weird. All you needed was a hole in a heartbeat, and here's your mortgage. So
Seriously,
I'm
yeah.
like, what?
Bought my
Okay.
house during that time. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that put a lot of people in a bad way because they had no business buying homes like that. But that's just how skewed our society is. And speaking of which, I mean, we get sold a lot of a bill of goods about how things should be instead of allowing life to flow.
Yes. Ooh.
Right. And we're really big about allowing life to flow. And one of the big bill of goods that we were all sold, especially little girls, but even little boys get sold this too. Um, the whole idea of the nuclear family. Oh, you're gonna find the one, the Prince Charming. Um, and that would be great if our little boys were raised to be allowed to be divine masculine and not patriarchal assholes, emotionally stunted, sad little boys in men's bodies. Not all of them. Not I'm not saying that at all, but I just in my observations, not trying to be, that person. Just in my observations, and they're so frustrated because they don't know how to express themselves, because they don't know how to tap into their own emotions, because they haven't grown
Yeah.
into their emotions. And then you have the poor men who have, and they're so frustrated, like, where do I fit in?
Right. And
Right.
unfortunately, they also run into women who are very much that thing that we described as some men can be.
Oh,
Just because,
absolutely.
yeah, just because of where we've come from and how much or how little we were nurtured and just,
Yes.
what society kind of did to us. Because that was going to be my question. I'm glad you mentioned that there are some, that are operating in their truth. What causes that? Where is there a root cause?
I think it's a lack of self-love.
Mm,
When you don't feel like you're enough, and that's the biggest epidemic on our planet, um, especially in our country, from what I've observed in my hypnotherapy practice and just speaking to people in general, we all have this like innate feeling of like, I'm not enough. I'm
yeah.
not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not young enough. Or I'm not old enough. I'm not this enough or that enough. And it
And we
really,
focus on it. Yeah.
yes, we
Hmm.
focus on it, and we're aware of this at a very young age when we aren't fully consciously developed yet. We're still operating pretty much from the subconscious. We're still very emotional, very creative, very imaginative, but we don't really know how to pin down anything just yet. And so, but yet at this time, we're making decisions which turn into beliefs about how we think the world is and who we think we are. And most of the time, the message that we're getting is that we're not enough. And
Mm,
also, what's in your head isn't real. So we discount ourselves, second guess ourselves. We look outside ourselves for validation, for fulfillment, for everything. We're not taught to go inwardly because that's where our power is. All right.
right.
So, as far as for women goes, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up, Elle, is because this has been a big theme in my life in the last couple of weeks, and I've been talking with you about it. I've got a very close friend of mine who's in a situation, and as well as clients of mine coming to me for kind of the same thing, where it's the abandonment issue.
Ah, yes. Ooh, been there.
And that issue, I get it too, because I had it myself, and how I birthed myself through that. And I can't say I had a lot of help along the way. I mean, honestly, I really did. I mean, both incarnate and spirit, a lot of help. But this theme is coming up now, I guess, because I've come such a long way with it that I'm able to help people who are going through it right now, because I remember what it feels like to be in the throes of it and not knowing how to get out of it, because you're almost so addicted to this thing or this person that you know is not right for you. It's
Mhm.
toxic to you. And I am hoping that all this is coming up to fruition to heal for everybody.
Yeah. It has to be. I feel like being that you've experienced it, I've experienced it as well, but the fact that people are they're being drawn to you for a reason. You are
Right.
that entity that will be able to help guide them because you've gone through it and you can
Right.
recognize what it is and provide that guidance and provide your story for how you overcame that. And I don't think that happens by accident.
No, you're right. You're right. And no, I honor that and I appreciate that. Um, because boy howdy, when I talk to people about the journey that they're getting ready to go through, it's my job to try to make things as easy as possible for them. But I remember going through what I go through, and just it is. They call it the dark night of the soul for a reason.
Mm. And the
Okay,
dark night of the soul talks about is that
you're
what you
doing
have.
your shadow work.
That's what I
You're
thought.
really
Okay.
going within yourself, and you are looking straight in the mirror. You're not in denial land. You don't have the rose-colored glasses on anymore. You're accepting your role in the situation, because never is anybody taking your power from you.
Hmm.
You are giving it away,
So true.
and that is the most jagged little pill,
Mm.
Alanis Morissette, to swallow.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's a hip chick, and that's why she wrote that
She
song.
was hip a long time ago too, I'll
Yes,
tell you.
she was. I can't believe that was 30 years ago.
I
Shut
know.
up. Shut up.
Stop
Anyway,
telling people. We don't even know. We have no idea.
but still, and it is a jagged pill when you do that inner work and you do the healing, because until you do the healing, you're going to attract people in that same low vibration. And if you're a sweet, kind-hearted person and you just looking for love, you just want to be chosen, you just want to feel, accepted and all that good stuff, that's where the predators come out. And that's what my
Nine
friend is
years.
dealing with right now. And
Uh,
she knows he is on a higher self level, but her ego self is so wounded right now that she is choosing to turn a blind eye to it. And he's manipulating the fuck out of her.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ego in addition to that lack of self-love. And it's weird because you would think that you'd have your ego in check if you're struggling with self-love, but it just takes over at the wrong times and for the wrong things.
Well, the ego inflates itself and says, "No, I'm amazing. I've got it all under control.
That's right. That's that mask that we often wear. I've
Yeah,
worn it.
I got it under control. I know exactly what I'm doing, and this feels great."
Mm, wow. I spent
Yeah,
9 years in relationships, in a couple of different relationships.
yeah.
Um, just with that same mindset, and my entire motivation for not letting the relationships go when I knew I should have let them go
Oh
early
yeah.
on
Oh,
was,
me too.
well, who am I going to be with? Who am I going to? And it's like, what? And that is like a whole other person to me now. And believe me, I don't criticize because I
Yeah,
know what it felt like.
yeah.
You're yourself, but this is how you feel. And
Well,
I
and
had to
that
get past
okay.
that.
Thank you for saying it just that way, Elle, because who am I going to be with? Again, we're looking outside of ourselves for completion. That whole Jerry Maguire, you complete me. You complete me. I want to. Mm,
When I saw it the first time, I was like,
no.
ew.
Oh, we all creamy G'd during.
I
Oh,
know.
that's
I
the best
I was
thing
like, ew, because I've been a
ever. No,
broken person
man,
for a
come
long
on.
time.
What a crock of shit. Crock of shit. No, I complete me. I'm going to attract you. Are you complete yourself? Let's Jimmy Jam. Let's have a great. Let's compliment each other. I don't need you to complete me.
Right.
And see, that's the bill of goods that we've been sold all along, and it's so disempowering. And then when time after time and after time again it doesn't work, then we think something's wrong with us.
Yeah. Or we say, why do I keep, well, no, we say there's something wrong with us. When we start to do a little of that shadow work, I know for me, I started
Mhm.
asking myself, okay, so why do I keep attracting these types of
Yeah, that kind of people.
people? You know, and letting these types of people do these things to me. That's when I first had my peek into owning my own shit, if
Yeah,
you will.
yeah. And then also being able to learning how to stand up for yourself.
There you
That's a
go.
big one. And having your boundaries, and you don't have to be an asshole about it,
Exactly.
right? Or a bitch or whatever the case you can. But sometimes you have to be, depending
Yeah.
upon how obnoxious the other person is trying to be with infringing on your boundaries,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it's having enough self-love to have that respect of, I'm not going to let you treat me any which way or let you manipulate me in something that I know isn't good for me,
Right. I'm worth more than
for
this.
your own gain.
Right.
And trust me, I did that for the better part of 25 years with another human being, and
Hmm.
I will never ever do that again. But I'm a professional now in regards to that kind of shit, and I smell that crap as if somebody just crapped right here in front of
Right.
me.
Right.
And so my friend, I wrote her a letter, which I shared with you because I just wanted little GF feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, little girl power feedback.
Yes.
Um, because of how much I love her and I see it clearly, just like I'm watching a movie, but I gave her enough space to make her own decisions because she's a grown ass woman. And if this is a lesson she needs to learn, then she's going to learn it.
Yes. And you
Well,
did it with such love, you know, Kat.
thank
And
you.
you and it was very you know, again, you did give her the power and helped her to realize she is empowered to make
Yeah.
whatever decision. You made it clear that it's not up to you. This is simply how you feel about it and what you see. And it was from such a place of honest, genuine love. I said, you know what? If you've got a friend like that, you're more than lucky. I am more than lucky because I have a friend like you who can do that. Yes,
Yes, well, back at you, girl. Back at you.
girl.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the girl that I'm speaking of is as well, but she's in such a really, really tough place. There's a lot of people out there, and she included that, and myself included that. There's been a lot of people exiting the planet here lately, and some families are a lot of people are checking out,
Yeah.
and my friend was one of them. And within the last 7 years, she's lost, I think it's like a person a year. And we're talking
Wow.
like significant key people, like a husband and father and mother-in-law and her niece, which was like her little sister
Oh.
or
Mm.
first daughter kind of thing. So yeah.
So that's
I
even,
see
yeah,
she's low hanging fruit as
she
far as
is.
predators are concerned. And this is where I want to empower people when they're going through that grief.
Yeah.
It's so easy to reach out for things that you think are going to make you feel better. And so many people try to reach out for a relationship. I did it too.
Me too.
When I left my ex, because I was so love starved, I'm like, I'm gonna find somebody immediate. I
Hmm.
know I'm just gonna find my guy. And no, honey,
Right.
because you know what I realized, Elle? Every time I went out somewhere, I don't. Do you remember that book? It wasn't Dr. Seuss, but it was like, maybe it was Dr. Seuss. It was called "Are You My Mother?"
Yeah. Yes, I remember
Okay, where
that. I
the
think
baby
it,
bird, I don't know if he was kicked, he fell out of the nest, and the
yes.
mother went off to go find a worm for breakfast or whatever, and he got lost. So every being, every creature he came up to, like a dog or a cat or a chicken, are you my mother? Are you
Yes.
my mother? Are you my mother? Well, I was doing that with guys. Are you
Yeah.
my guy? Are you my
Hmm.
guy?
Me
Are
too.
you my guy? And I finally realized I was doing that, and I was like, ew,
Yeah. Yeah. You
ew,
almost don't recognize yourself. And that was
ew.
yourself at that time.
Oh,
Right.
it was
Girl, I
disgusting.
know.
I'm like, okay, you're cut off. All
Yeah.
right.
Right.
You're cut off, girl. No. Big fat no.
Right.
So I cut myself off because I knew I needed to heal. That was a gaping wound. hugely. And had I let it go, I would have been ripe for the pickings for any kind of schlub or what's the word? I'm brain farting. Uh, Shiza.
I'm just thinking opportunist, shyster.
Scrub. That's the word. Any kind of
Oh,
scrub.
scrub.
I'm
Shout
so
out
good.
TLC.
Oh man. TLC. Come on, man. Any kind of scrub could come pick me up and pick whatever they wanted.
I was dating this guy one time, Kat, and oh God, I can't even tell you. He took me for a little bit of money as well. God, I can't even believe I
Oh,
was that dumb.
honey.
That was back when I had money. I mean, not a whole lot, but he still took me. And I'll
Still.
never forget, I had just come out of the bank, and literally he was riding up in the passenger side, on the passenger side of his best friend's car.
Oh my Lord, have mercy.
And I said to myself, dang, am I dating a scrub? I was.
A little bit. Oh my Lord, have mercy. You know, it's a lot of it going on out there, and I think it's coming up to surface to heal, because I'll tell you what, within like the last 5 years or so, the whole narcissist empathic dynamic hasn't really been public knowledge.
Right.
It wasn't until I actually divorced my ex and started like really kind of getting into the the internet. I sound so old now. The YouTube. Let's get into the Facebook. That was a dominant thing, which is funny because I did write him an angry letter when I found out he was dating his best friend's ex-fiance. What an asshole move. Anywho, but I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube page and something to help people get out of these toxic relationships and then have empowerment. And little did I know that was already in action.
Yeah.
And that it was already named, and it's like a huge community now because it's an epidemic.
It is. It really is. People are noticing it and calling it out and noticing the behaviors and identifying the behaviors. Yeah. And that is why the verbiage is there. And hopefully not to be overused, because I sometimes think people use it as a defense mechanism.
I agree. Like the word narcissist, I mean, if you talk to any like PhD in psychology, they're going to have a fit about that, because there are parameters for that actual term, for that condition. Now you can have narcissistic like tendencies.
There you go. And that's how I normally describe it.
Probably bipolar, or what's the other thing where you're not bipolar, maybe it's bipolar with narcissistic tendencies, which is probably most of what we're all dealing with.
Yeah, right. I actually looked at my mom's DSM-5 and looked at the markers. And I will have to bring that list next time, but looked at the markers. This was a few years ago when it first started to really pop up. And I was like, well, is this person really a narcissist? And when you look at the markers, most people probably aren't an entire narcissist or suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, because they don't have 10 of the 12 markers, or however many it was, might have been 14, I can't remember. But to your point, they've got narcissistic behavior
that could be exacerbated by the extremes in their dysregulated emotions.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I've noticed. It's really more of a matter of dysregulation and the emotions.
That is, you nailed it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, because most of these people that we're speaking of, my ex included, are good people.
Right.
They're good people. They're just fucked up in the emotion sector, and they don't know how to heal it. And it's too damn scary to do so.
Yeah.
And some of them do come for help, and some of them do come to me, and God bless them for doing so.
Yeah.
I tip my hat and salute my heart to these people, especially to these men that come to me for help, that they're doing their own work. I'm like, you're gonna make some partner very happy should you choose to have a partner, because not everybody chooses to have a partner.
That's right.
That doesn't mean just because. I don't like this dynamic that you're nobody if you don't have a partner, because that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's been kind of the programming we've been you know.
Really and truly. So,
Yeah,
I give kudos to anybody willing to do the work, whether you're seeking out help from a professional or from a friend or doing it on your own. That's it still takes a lot of courage to do that, Elle, and you know that because you've done it yourself.
and it's more, at least historically and traditionally, women are more likely to seek that kind of help. Very, very few men are.
Right.
And I've noticed an uptick in men seeking that help. I've heard you
Yes.
talk about it. I've heard others talk about, and I've seen things on social media where men are now openly talking about it. And for so many years, it was taboo. And
Uh,
that's part of the problem.
that
That
was taboo.
yeah, that
Yes.
men didn't feel comfortable expressing their emotions
Right.
without being ridiculed. So how they felt came out in ways that just were not good. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why we try to be careful not to bash anyone. It's
Yeah.
not it is your fault to choose whatever to continue whatever behavior, even if you know it's harmful. But there's some things ingrained in us from whatever experiences we've had, for instance, men not feeling comfortable expressing emotions, that drive some of that behavior, and that has to be fixed.
Absolutely. And I think we're on our way of doing that, my dear. And I think all of us, coming to this realization and allowing these wounds to come to the surface is going to start to shift the tides for all of us to be able to work together. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this thing that the men are doing. It's real quick. On TikTok, there is a "Say Goodnight to the Fellas" challenge, where these guys are getting on TikTok, calling their friends up late at night, at the end of the night, and saying, "Hey, buddy, what's up? What's going on? Da 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 da." Well, I just called. Oh, I'm seeing we're at 26:41. Okay, my bad.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that should we keep the ticker's still going?
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
okay. I mean,
It was going to get mad at us.
I, but they're saying, well, I just called to tell you good night. And the guys are responding in various ways. Some of them are like, what is wrong with you? It's really funny. But what I like about it is all these guys get to go to sleep that night or to go to work or wherever with the last thing that happened being something happy that made them laugh, that helped regulate their
I
nervous system.
love that.
Yeah,
That's a great way to end, Elle. Thank you for sharing that, sweetie.
sure. Hopefully we're
Uh,
still on.
we are until I end it. We're
Okay,
just
there we
cutting
go.
into somebody else.
Then we won't do that.
All good. All right, you kids have a great holiday weekend. Mwah, we love you to pieces. Speaking of which, peace and love. We'll see you next Friday here at 4:00. Hippie Chicks Live. Did they end us?